Last winter in 2024, I had the opportunity to travel solo to Japan. And no, I'm not going to say Japan is this perfect place to live and everything there was so much better than great old America. You will hear that later in the video. Now you see, it's like Japan actually does have some issues. It's not too many, but like they do have some issues. And here's one I would want to talk about right here. It's not the fact that while I was on the bullet train back from my flight home, I was the only person who was asked for their ticket information when seated. That was tolerable. That was alright. It was weird, but it was alright. But then throughout my entire trip, I noticed people actively switching purses from one shoulder to the other when I would walk beside them, or at least near them. And again, that's not too bad. I mean, it's only natural for someone to be afraid of this. Like, look at these bulking muscles. You'll see them right here on screen. Yeah. And to them, I'm some, like, insert Dragon Ball character drawn stereotypically. These were small issues that didn't even compare to the larger issue I faced. That issue being Japan just has no trash cans in their bathroom. Like, I knew people said that they have no trash cans on the streets, but their bathrooms, none. I went to blow my nose and I didn't want to flush because coming from a struggling family, suburbs, I knew doing so would cost electricity. So, I was just being mindful. Now let's talk about the good things. You see, I have this lucky thing called being a tourist. This means I can justify bad spending as a way to say I'm relaxing. Because I had a little leftover scholarship money. Because I had a little leftover money I saved up from working a while back, I was able to go on this amazing trip experiences point blank ever. The only time I ever left my home this far was to a small place called New York. And to go from New York to Japan, well, there's a reason why one got a video and the other didn't. It's going to be one of those videos. It's going to be those video dumps of everything I did and a lot of, ooh, look at this really cool thing I saw that I grew up with video. But we also call that tourism. So, before I headed to Japan, I packed my bags early, did my daily healthcare, and finally dried my hair to perfection. Peep the retwist, by the way, thanks mom. 1 4-hour nap later and a couple gas stops and food breaks later, I arrived at SFO to board my flight to Japan. I honestly was not too nervous about flying across the country, although I should have been. This would be my first time flying on a 14-hour flight, but the flight was not too bad by any means. Time is going to be very important throughout this video, so do keep that in mind. There were so many troubled moments I had that no first-timer should go through. One of my first obstacles actually being my plane landing there. My plane leaves around 3:40 p.m., but because of the time zone differences, I should have landed at 5:30 a.m., but instead, I did my math wrong and landed in Narita Airport at 7 p.m. in the winter, at night. Not only did I land in Narita Airport, which is an hour away from central Tokyo by train, but the worst of it is, I had roughly 4 hours to figure out the transportation here to get to the hotel I was staying at, which by sheer luck I booked the night before my trip. I swear I was prepared for this trip. Shinjuku and Osaka stations are the busiest stations in all of Japan. I arrived there during peak rush hour. I had no idea how on earth I managed to get on the right train the first time, arrive at the right place the first time, and top it all off, even arrived at my hotel on time for check-in. Yo, dude, there's like no, I cannot find lights. I cannot find lights anywhere. It's just pitch black. I made it to my hotel and I cannot find lights, dude. Yo, it's okay. It took me like maybe 50 minutes to get that working. Nah, it was seriously insane. Like, it was serious, like literally all on the same day. I had to figure out the transportation, but it was all by sheer luck. And you can thankfully assume for the rest of this trip, I had no issues when I needed to ride public transit. And I am really proud. I'm going off script a little bit. I am really proud to say that when I landed in Japan, from that point on, from Shinjuku to like later in the trip, which I'll show later, of course, no spoilers right now, I had no issues going on public transit. I am a king. I am a king at that. Except for Kyoto, but we'll talk about Kyoto later. I safely got to every stop without catching the wrong train once this entire trip. This counts for the JR too. No, so happy about that. Once I got to my hotel room around maybe 8 p.m. or 7, I know I landed at like 7 or 8 p.m. I think I landed at 8 p.m. But once I got to my hotel room around like 9, basically check-in time for me, I honestly just looked around and sighed in relief that I made it to Japan. Like, it was a crazy feeling making it to Japan. Also, like, the TV was playing, like, One Piece and Dragon Ball Z Dokkan, from what I remember. Like, the first time I turned it on, that was such a breath of fresh air to see that. It was so cool. And at 8 a.m. sharp, I wanted to wake up bright and early so I could head down to my first travel location in Japan, Shinjuku. Now, a little disclaimer, I stayed here for 2 weeks on my trip to Japan and revisited a lot of places during my stay. I'll describe what I did in each city followed by a video rather than what I did each day. Quite frankly, I don't remember what I did each day. I mean, blame it on short-term memory loss, I don't know. That way, recalling events is easier and summarized, rather than explaining what I did each day by day. I'll still do a bit of both, though, throughout the entire video, but keep in mind these 2 weeks I went to places like Yokohama, Minito, I think I pronounced that name right, Akihabara, Nara, Kyoto, and one of my favorite places throughout this entire trip, Universal Studios Japan. But honestly, let's talk about Shinjuku. If I could give one word of advice for foreigners going to Japan and choosing to stay in Shinjuku first, you're gonna need this number on speed dial. I remember I remember when I was in Shinjuku and when I finally got out of there, I was like, I cannot believe this was all a station. Like, how do people... I think locals were even looking a little confused. I think the locals were so confused by, like, all the words. I don't know if I have any videos of it. I hope I do, and if I do, I'm gonna put them right here. But, like, it was so confusing because there was English words. I know English, and there was English words I couldn't read. There was Japanese words on the floor, and then, like, it was like I was in the Google Translate. Like, I was the app. Like, I was trying to figure it, and, like... I don't know, it was a little confusing for me. I think after my experience in Shinjuku Station, I became like Emmett from the Lego movie, if I can summarize that the best, and just became like a master navigator afterward. My first few days in Shinjuku were relatively simple. During these 3 days, I mainly wanted to get familiar with the area and transit. 5 minutes down the street, I already felt at home as I found my hotel was directly next to a McDonald's. I went to McDonald's for my first item in Japan, and I had to. That is a foreign checklist I needed to knock out, and I did just that. But there was honestly no real difference between America's McDonald's, specifically California. We make our food a little better, sorry. But there was no real difference between McDonald's Japan and McDonald's America. Besides from the bacon in Japan was a lot better, in my opinion. I do want to say that in America, I could taste more of the sausage and egg, and then Japan, I can only taste more of the bacon and egg. And the sausage just like wasn't really there. But other than that, honestly, it was like a 7 out of 10 meal for me to start off my trip. Let me show the camera here. Yeah, there's like no ketchup up on here. I can't believe I'm doing mukbang now. But there's no ketchup on this burger, which is fine. But like 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 burger. This is good. And it was only like, dude, the burger was only $2. Let me read the receipt real quick. 440 yen. 440 yen. That's like $2. 275 if my math's correct. Dude, I got this thing for Again, I got this for $2.75. This and it's double. It's double. In America, this would cost me like maybe $5, $10, and then maybe not $10. After I finished my McDonald's, I went down to one of the busier places in Shinjuku. I was honestly amazed by the sheer size of everything. Like seriously, not only was everything I think everything was actually 5 to 8 stories tall, but I could go from like basement floor to the 8th and I really wish I had my camera. I really wish I had my camera. I wish you could see my excitement on my face. There was a huge... Okay. This was a huge deal for me. Evidently, this was a huge deal for me. I grew up in a neighborhood that was nothing but suburban. You know, like that transit map off Call of Duty Black Ops 2 when you're going through the fields. My house was there. Like, it was located there. It was located there. And like, this area, it was like 8-story. Like, every building was 8 stories tall and housed nothing but, like, gojo... A lot of gojo, a lot of gambling, a little too much gambling. There was everything you could think of in these stores, except bathrooms. I ended up going into this well-known shop that has a lot of old-school video games and DVDs. Nintendo 64, 3DS, PlayStation 1s, like literally everything I could find was there. I even found a Super Smash Bros. Copy on the Wii for like $5. I don't think I could have played the game because I think it's region locked and wouldn't run on my Nintendo Wii at home, but honestly, it still looked pretty cool to see that this game was just here. Now, I do believe I like to think I have a pretty good spending habit. I won't buy unnecessary things if A, I won't use them, B, I don't feel like I need them in the moment, or they're going to give me a short, satisfied feeling, or C, are completely useless and are just going to sit around my house. $64 down the drain, and it was time for me to go home and pack him up. I knew this trip the devil would grab my wallet and tell me it was better to spend now than save. I tried not to buy too much, but I did say try. Later, I went back to my hotel and found terrible news that was awaiting me. Surely it wouldn't alter the course of my trip in terms of testing my arm strength or anything, but like, I didn't want to find a new suitcase because I knew I wouldn't buy anything else in Japan. Epic foreshadowing here. But because I found out my hotel was right in between Shinjuku and Shibuya, I decided I would go to... Shibuya is honestly like Shinjuku, but way more fashion-oriented. Like, way more. All around the city are different clothing lines, anime stores, and restaurants. I really like this burger place called Shogun Burgers. Well, like, I 100% recommend anyone who goes to Shibuya to try it out. Really good burger, like really, really good. However, I wasn't there in Shibuya to find fashion yet. I knew I wanted one thing from here, to find the famous Shonen Jump shop. I was on a mission. I had to go through the scramble, but finally, I found it. There wasn't really much I wanted from the shop, but the giant Luffy statue made the whole experience worth the sight. There were also two other famous spots right next to each other, literally right next to each other. I always see videos online of the Nintendo shop and the Shibuya Pokemon Center, but both shops were just right next to each other in the same floor, same building, and they were both equally filled to the top with nothing but merch from each franchise. Each franchise, and I honestly geeked out seeing all the different souvenirs. I didn't buy anything, I'm strong, remember that. My expectations were high after seeing that Broly figure. I would need something extravagant to justify my spending. And again, I am proud to say I did not spend money here at all. But afterwards, I went to the rooftop of the mall where each store was located, took in the cold weather that surrounded me, went back to explore a little bit more of Shibuya at night, and headed back to my hotel to sleep. Once again, Shibuya was just awesome to experience. Its nightlife, social culture, and food, my god, the food. Oh my god, the food. Everything there was perfect. And while on the topic of food, here's everything I ate in Japan just so I can get it out the way. This was really good. This was good. This was the same. This was amazing. This was also really good. This is squid ink, melted cheese, and cabbage, which honestly was really good. I think these were fish testicles, I'm not quite sure. I had a lot of vending machine food. This was a waffle fish clustered, honestly the best thing. These were good. This was really strong. A teriyaki burger with egg on it was really good, super good. Not better than Shogun's though. All of these items you see on screen right here were good except for the Coca-Cola. I don't like Coca-Cola like that. This 10-cent coin thing was honestly really mid the second time I had it. I liked it the first time, but the second time it was just kind of weird tasting. I finally got to try these. These were really sweet but good. And I finally got to try one of Doraemon's favorite foods. They call them the honey buns in America. I don't really know what they're called in Japan. And I regret not trying these. But after Shibuya, I went back outside to my hotel room and called it quits for the night. I had to wake up relatively early for the next day, unfortunately. Yet, fortunately, because this entire time, I've been by myself for the trip. But now it was time to meet with friends in Yokohama. Yokohama is the city. If I could rank all the cities I've visited on a tier list, actually now that I think of it, I can. So here's my current Japan cities of Tokyo tier list and places I would live. Yokohama is just beautiful. The walkability, oh, the walkability. Like, the walkability. Look. With my friends, it's just a beautiful city though. With my friends, we ended up exploring a majority of, I would say, not really a majority of Yokohama, we didn't really explore too much, but we explored a good portion of it, I would say, going to this giant Ferris wheel place that gave me mad Final Fantasy VII vibes, I don't know why, then heading off into a giant, maybe like 5 to 6 story mall that connects to another mall that connects to the metro. Did I say this place is walkable, or you will be walking a lot? We ended the day watching the New Year's fireworks display that would appear on that giant Ferris wheel I mentioned earlier. And again, the people celebrating in the streets, walking around as the new year hit was just wonderful to see. Don't get me wrong, I was freezing my ass off, but other than that, we walked back to our shared hotel, and on that walk, I was just really breathtaken by the sheer scale of how big Yokohama is. And then I thought this was a good idea after getting off the train station. Anyway though, we made it back to the hotel room, and when the next day arrived, I decided I would extend my stay in Yokohama some more to do some solo traveling of my own. I went here and here and got to see the famous slam dunk location. I didn't choose the name, the internet did, and went to Yokohama Chinatown to remind myself that life doesn't only consist of burgers. But you see, my friends, my Browns, my friends know who I am, and so do you now a little. While we were all together, my friend had the amazing idea to travel across the city of Tokyo to test me upon one of the 7 deadly sins. Greed. No better place to test greed than sending me to Akihabara. Akihabara is Japan's tourist trap. If I can describe this place in one word, no better word than money. If you thought seeing Shinjuku was so much, this place is filled to the brim with nothing but electronics, entertainment, anime, more entertainment, and lots of capitalism too for the floor. And of course, I just had to spend time here. My friends took me here expecting I would spend money, and seeing that because it's electronics and anime, of course I would love it. But I was strong. I knew I wouldn't surpass the need to buy anything else than the Brawly that I already had.
Oh! Or you can bring back.
No, I'll make it work. I'll buy a second suitcase. Then how could I not? How could I not get, come on now, how could I not? Defeated and belittled, I bought the Brawly, looked at my belongings, and smiled knowing I had lost the battle with my friends to not spend money here. But in the end, I won the prize I wanted. Another bought item later, and I was finally able to fit the 2 Brawlys safely throughout my trip, along with the other matching figures. I just had to get them because they were matching with their respective forms, and it was like if I got one, I had to get the other. This also was a pretty good deal for me too, because my suitcase that I brought on the trip ended up being completely wasted by the end of the day. But I still had to carry the 2 with me across Japan, and when I mean across Japan, I do actually mean all the way over to Osaka. Osaka is definitely different from many cities I visited earlier. Osaka has more nature in the city than all cities like Tokyo does. Honestly though, I really like the nice blend between nature and city that Osaka brought. I didn't really do too much while in Osaka. I only had a few days to stay in Osaka, but what I did those few days was pretty cool. On my first day, it rained. So on my second day, I went exploring outside my hotel and found these really cool anime shops and these dome-like structures that Japan has a lot of scattered across Tokyo and Osaka. Imagine the Miracle Mile shops in Las Vegas, but expanded throughout multiple city blocks in a row. I went to try some pretty alright pizza, and I started feeling this thing called my 20s. Turns out walking 20,000 plus steps every day when you usually don't do is a thing to your legs that makes you just want to sleep. And sleep I did, because the next day was single-handedly the best day I ever had while abroad here. I allocated one entire day from 8 AM to 9 PM just for this one experience, and I know I've been teasing it this entire video, but I think it's time I talk about my experience in Universal Studios Japan, which I will talk about in another video. This would also be the time I realized just how much Japan loves Pokemon. Now, I personally dabbled in a few Pokemon games myself. I got one on the channel right now. But like, I do know Power World, so I'm clearly knowledgeable in Pokemon. But when I was exploring the mini stations in Japan, I realized every stop had at least one Nintendo store and one Pokemon Center store to match. Each store filled with nothing but merchandise left and right. I also saw these pretty cool Pokemon statues that you could not pay me to name. So on the third day, my time was running up here. I had to squeeze in 3 locations I wanted to visit: Osaka Castle, Kyoto, and Nara. Each of them was about an hour apart from each other via train ride, but I was determined to do so. Keep in mind, I prepared pretty heavily for this trip, but there was still some things I didn't know about. Something that maybe I should tell you now. So consider this the educational segment. You see, Japan uses a different power wattage than the US does. The United States pulls in 120 watts while Japan pulls in 100 watts. In the United States, 120 helps charge your phone more effectively, since the phone manufactured in the United States and Japan are separate. They're completely different. They require different chargers, and each charger requires the respective charging outlet. Guess who did not know that? So during this entire trip, not only did I have my phone on low power mode the entire time, but I also could not charge my phone at all. I was only able to charge my phone at the mercy of if the hotel had a compatible outlet for my iPhone box. or if my phone was on powered off mode. And I had plans to go to these 3 places in one day. How did I do it? To squeeze in Nara, Kyoto, and Osaka Castle in one day, it would be basically impossible. But what I did here was, I walked to Osaka Castle because I really liked taking in the environment I was in. The walk was pretty peaceful and beautiful. Thankfully, after the rain had cleared, the rest of the week was clear and sunny, which made visiting each place so scenic. Osaka Castle was huge too. Again, the scale of these places is insane, and I loved how all of this is located right in the heart of Osaka too. I didn't go inside because this Have Fun in Kienza pass actually said, have fun trying to figure out where to exchange your voucher. Also because it wasn't offered, but I didn't know that till I got there, so that's my fault. Then I made my way to the subway station and took a train ride down to Nara, which was actually really underwhelming. You see, the famous thing about Nara is the bowing deer, which I'm sure you watching this video have heard about before. But when I got there, the deer just don't bow anymore. Some do, and I managed to get the good boys on camera, or good girls, we don't discriminate, but the others were just like, they look creepy. I then ventured further into down the street from the area I visited. I didn't have much time here, so keep that in mind. I needed to leave and found this pretty cool small town that was about an hour or so away by walk. There was nothing to do in the town besides look and flex my tourist aesthetic. I think my favorite attraction to see in this town was the working class. After taking the bus back, I saw this weird, like extremely weird final boss of Starbucks right outside the train station I needed to go to head over to Kyoto. But I boarded the train and headed down to Kyoto. And this is where I paused to complain a little bit. Shout out to Kyoto for being the actual most confusing station in all of Tokyo and Osaka. Shinjuku, Yokohama, and Shibuya were all starter courses to help me prepare for the transportation of Kyoto. Google Maps showed that there was a subway station or a train accessible in Kyoto Station, but when I actually got there, it just wasn't there anywhere on the signage. So I had to walk around the station from like the west, north, like all the coordinational points, right? And then I finally found it on the 3rd level. Excuse me, whoa. It made no sense. It just didn't make sense. That was like the only ever time I got lost, and I was like, oh crap, I might actually get lost in Japan. All this while my phone was actively dying with no portable charger, which, you know, is my fault, I get that. But to catch you up to speed on where my charge is, about the time I got into the shrine in Kyoto that everyone takes photos of, yeah, I'm at 10%. I wanted to hike up this mountain so badly. This place stretched for miles, and I desperately wanted to see what was at the end of all these staircases. There were loops and turns everywhere, and the place was filled with so much history, but I just didn't have the percentage in my phone. Also, it was like 5 p.m. during winter, so darkness was drawing near. Somehow, I made it to the train and figured out which one to get back to Osaka Station, made it back to my hotel, charged my phone, and went to bed watching One Piece film Red. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see much of Kyoto or Nara, but here's my unbiased, completely accurate, and updated tier list that includes Kyoto. American approved. If I honestly had a few more days in Osaka to just spend them in Kyoto and Nara respectively, I would have done so. These places were just beautiful. I think I would have grown to appreciate Nara, just because, I mean, the deer kind of creep me out, I'm not gonna lie. The blend of history, city, and like nature, it's just like Osaka, but just more naturey and hilly, and it was so nice. And some of the deer there were cute, don't get me wrong. And it was so cool. I didn't even get to try the food. I really like the city. I like the small towns, I should say. It wasn't really city, it was small towns. And as for Kyoto, I didn't get to see much of Kyoto, but it honestly shared the same vibe as Nara. But of course, with that giant mountain that I do want to eventually go to and hike. Overall, I enjoyed both those locations so much, and it sucks I only had an hour, well, not really an hour, I only had like a few hours to travel to each place in the short amount of time I had in Osaka, but hey, I'll come back to them when I can in the future. Perhaps for 2026, we'll see, who knows. In my last few days while in Japan, I went back from Osaka to Yokohama and just explored. I went around the neighborhoods and saw all the nice daily experiences many of the locals would do. I found this giant park, like a giant open area right near my hotel where people would watch the ocean, walk, and cycle, and I just experienced it. I realized that my trip is finally completed and that I did all of this by myself. I couldn't have been more grateful to have experienced this trip, and not only that, but also have so many of my friends bless my travels while I experienced this place by myself. It was such a big dream of mine as a kid to visit China. Actually, I'll do that another time. But the second place I wanted to go to was Japan, and now I finally have been able to complete this bucket list item. During the year 2024, that time in my life was interesting, and I'm going to get a little open here when I say this. I had a roller coaster of emotions from 2023 and 2024, from getting my associate's degree to going to the university I'm currently residing at, and meeting my friends that would eventually take me out to Japan. This trip just made the entire year from 2024 to 2025 memorable for me. The fact everything went right was just perfect. The fact I was able to visit a country my family, maybe even my blood, has never even laid foot on is historic for me. I still and think while scrolling on social media, thinking about how many times others have gone, friends, celebrities, and family, and wonder if I could ever get to this point in my life myself. And I finally did. I took that step and I landed across the country and back. I mainly want this video to open you guys, the viewers, up and experience life outside of your country one day. Whether it's to Japan, China, America, or really anywhere you've always wanted to travel in your life, even if it's out of state or just local. Someplace you always wanted to go. Just go. Go do it. Living isn't leaving, but rather leaving is living. Go leave. I promise you, you'll come back with so much life.